Hey guys, welcome back to my shop. Today I'm going to be doing an unboxing of a brand new product from Sainsmart. It's the Genmitsu 4040 RENO router. I guess that could be Reno, but I'm going to go with RENO. This is a brand new machine. It's not even available yet. And when they first asked me to check this one out, I went and tried to look it up on the internet, see what kind of photos I could find of it, find out any information. And this is all I could find. This was on Amazon. They've got a listing, they're getting ready, but at the time I looked, there was no picture. This machine is got a lot of new improvements over the 440 Pro, which I reviewed recently. I'll put a link down in that video description in case you want to check that video out. So I am really anxious to see what kind of changes and improvements they've made with this one, and really excited to get this one unboxed and assembled and running. So let's get started. Okay, the first step in the manual calls to install the X-axis module with this left-right Y-axis module by taking 4 of these M5 by 25 millimeter rounded hex screws. I call them button head screws, and just install this right here, but don't tighten them all the way. Sometimes there's a little bit lost in the translation of the manuals, and they say don't lock the screws, but I'm pretty sure what they mean is just don't tighten them down all the way. So I've got my little coffee jar here to help me balance these so I can get one started, and I'm just gonna get these in here, trying to keep my arm out of the way so you can see. Sometimes there's a few little burrs on the end of these aluminum extrusions where they tap them if they don't chase the threads good, so you might have a little trouble getting some of those started. But they're going in good. Take the Allen wrench and go ahead and screw these in a little bit, but I'm still going to leave them loose here. Okay, so the next part of this step is to take 3 of these M5 by 25 rounded head screws or button head screws and install the right side of the Y-axis to the X-axis, but you use 3 of the button head, and then they say just use a socket head cap screw And this one looks like it's even got a real small head. So this is a M5 by 18. All these are clearly marked in a little plastic container. And they don't mention it in this step, or at least not that I can see in the manual, but I know that there's going to be a belt tensioner on this side. They have kind of a temporary one here to hold the belt, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this out now. You pull this out, they kind of stuff the excess inside the extrusion here, and I'm going to go ahead and run it through this strip. Like I said, they don't say to do that at this point of the assembly, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Hopefully that won't mess me up later on. Okay, step 2 is installing these aluminum profiles, or I guess that would be aluminum profiles for my friends across the pond. But these have to go a certain way. If you see these, this is going to go up. This is where you will screw in for the, when you attach the waste board or the spoil board. These 2 screws, you're going to put some more of these M5 by 25 millimeter button head screws right here. But then there's also a hole under here, and you can't see it in this camera shot, but on each of these aluminum rails underneath here, there's a little bolt with a little T-nut, and that's just to hold the T-nut in place. So we'll pull that bolt out, and then it will go, once we put this in, it will go through here and come up and tie into this here. But you need to make sure you got these going a certain way. They do have a label on this one here. It says our side, but I believe that means outside. And this would be the one I'm going to put in the back here. Okay, I think I finally got that started. That is definitely the hardest part of it so far. Now let's see if I can get these started. Started here. Okay, step 3 is going to be installing these little rubber feet with an M3 by 20 millimeter socket head screw. So I'm going to try to slide this out so that I can tip this up. I'll try to keep it still in the shot here. is a little hole. Let's see, I'll do the ones down here to make sure I keep them in the shop. There's a little hole right next to where I just screwed that screw into the T-nut, the sliding T-nut. Okay, the next step is to install the XAxis Assembly. It's already got the spindle installed in here. And we're going to install that with 4 of these M5 by 14 millimeter button head screws or rounded head screws. And I wanted to point out, you can see we've got 4 mounting holes right here. And on this thing, there are 8 holes, so you have a choice. You can see these 2 slots, or I should say 4 slots right here on the back of this plate. And so you could put it, those slots are to go around these screw heads, so you can put it either up high like this, or you can drop it down to the next set of holes like this. And I think for the time being, I'm going to set it at the lower setting since I've got just this small spindle in here. I don't think I'm going to need it raised up. That would be helpful if you buy the different things that allow you to put, you know, a bigger spindle, or maybe even one of the trim routers like the DeWalt 611 or a Makita. So you can buy different things. This is similar to the 440 Pro that I did. You can pull these off and pull this off. So if you pull this little spindle mount off. So if you get one of the larger ones, you'll be able to just with 4 screws pull it out and put that other one in. And I'll probably look into to getting one of those. But for now, let's put these put a couple of screws in there. This is kind of another thing where you need 3 hands sort of, but let's see if I can get it. Okay, we're up to step 5, and that is to install the MDF for the spoil board. Now you do have to be a little careful about putting these on, making sure you get them the right way. This is the bottom side. It's got the inserts here, and you want to make sure that you can see the threads down through here, and you've got a little MDF on top. And also another way you can tell is where the screws, you're going to have a counter bore right there. So I've looked these over and I think both pieces are identical, so we're just going to stick these on here. They're not labeled that they're any different, so let's see where are the holes. There we go. And for putting these on, we're going to be using 12 of these M5 by 22 millimeter socket head cap screws. So I'm just going to kind of get all these started. Now with some of these tapped holes in this aluminum, you know, if there's any burrs on it, it may be a little tough to get them started, especially with your fingers. So I've noticed in other machines I've assembled that a lot of times they don't chase the threads, they tap them and then just kind of leave it like that, and sometimes there might be a little burr on it or something. So be aware of that. Now I'm just kind of turning these cap screws down close. I'm not going to try to tighten them just yet. Let's go ahead and put the other side on. It really would be nice if they could send one piece, but then that would make the shipping carton bigger and cost more for shipping. So I understand why they ship them as 2 pieces, but you do sometimes may have a little flex right there where they join. Okay, now it doesn't mention it in the manual, but one thing I like to do before I snug these things all the way down is to take a tape measure and hook it corner to corner here and see if it's squared. Usually these machines, the way they're designed, when you start tightening things up, they kind of self-squaring, but it doesn't hurt to check, because if you're very far off, it'll be problems later. So we're in good shape. It's looking nice and square. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down. Be sure as you're tightening these down, don't crank down on them super hard, because you are, you know, tightening up into aluminum, and aluminum can strip out easy with these screws. These screws are probably stainless, so they're going to be much harder than the aluminum. Okay, the next step is to install this belt tensioning guide, I guess you'd call it. What you're going to need to do is get this out of the little plastic case over here. You're going to need 3 of these M3 by 12 millimeter hex socket flathead cap screws. And then this they refer to in the manual as the isolation column. It looks just like a little aluminum spacer. Those are very small, so make sure you don't lose those. First step, we're going to remove these 2 screws and take this plate off right here. Okay, next we're going to remove this long screw right here. Go ahead and back it all the way out. Next, you'll notice there's 2 little set screws on both sides of this thing. So we're going to remove those set screws, and that will allow this slider piece to come out. All right, once you slide this slider piece out, you can now see the countersinks where these screws here will go when you bolt it to the end of the XAxis module. So let me move the camera around and we'll get that done.
Okay, before I put this piece on here, I just want to make a couple of comments. The fit and finish on these pieces is really just fantastic. I mean, they do a great job. I don't know whether this is anodized or what it is, but all these parts as I've been going along here just are made beautifully. They're just very, very nice work on these. And another thing I mentioned earlier when I was bolting this on, how I said it didn't say in the manual to pull this, go ahead and pull this through this little hole here. And apparently that was something they left out of the manual and decided they better fix it by putting a sticker, because this sticker right here says, pass the belt through the aperture before installing the XAxis module. So again, I think that was something they probably just left out in the manual and then realized that they needed to add a sticker, and that's probably why all these other little stickers is. And again, this is this is one of the first ones out. This machine isn't even available yet, so I'm getting this one probably way before you can even buy it. So I'm sure they will correct the manual and add these things, and then you won't be seeing these stickers. So let's go ahead and get the get this screwed on here. I'm going to go ahead and okay. Next, we want to install this tensioner block right here. Slide it back in. Well, there we go. Had it turned the wrong way. So let's slide it back in, and you can kind of see how this is going to work. And we'll go ahead and stick this long bolt back in here. And they say to screw this in until the bolt is flush with the top of this slider. So this thing is really long. It's got a lot of adjustment in it. Okay, now the end of that long screw is just about flush with the top of this. I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but it's just about flush with the top of this little slider. Next, we want to take that little plate that we took off earlier, and we can put it back on the slider here. Okay, I'm leaving plenty of slack in these screws here that's holding that plate on. Next, we want to take the little, what they call the isolation column, and stick down in here. And you can see that it stays captured. Right there. And then we want to take the belt and slide it down through there. And I believe they say to fold that belt over. Okay, we need to loosen this little retainer here, and this was just to keep the belt tension so that you could I'm going to fold that belt over. We need to loosen this just a little bit. Okay. And now we should be able to tighten this little plate here. And then of course, I think I probably needed to pull some more through there. All right, so I'm pretty happy with the tension on there. And this is adjusted up where that long bolt is pretty snug. And it looks like to adjust the tension, you could just loosen these set screws that will allow that slider to move up and down. And then you can just move that long bolt, which will move this slider and pull it down as needed. And then you can also snug these back up as well. They say to tighten those back up. So you've got a lot of redundancy here as far as getting the belt the right tension and then tightening these things down, and it should never come loose. Okay, you always know you're getting close when you turn the page in the manual and it says to start doing the wiring. Wiring is going to be really simple, I think. To connect the spindle, you just connect the red to the positive terminal, and it's marked there with M1. M minus is over here on this side, so we just push those on. Okay, I'm going to try cutting one of the sample programs that comes on the thumb drive with the machine. I've adjusted the touch probe, and I think I've got the height on it set correctly and have it running correctly. So let's give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, let me just take a minute to talk about my first impressions about this machine. It is a very nice little machine. Now you'll notice when I was running these little test files, and I wish, you know, I'll probably just make my own test files and run some more, because these are so small it's even hard to get them to show up on the camera. But you'll notice that I'm using these 3D printed clamps that I had printed off from, I guess, for my 3020 Pro Max. They come with, you know, these contraptions here, and I've mentioned it before in other review videos. I absolutely hate these things, and the reasons I hate them is they do work, but I feel like the majority of people that buy these machines are, you know, these are entry-level machines, so I figure they're probably either brand new at CNC or, you know, don't know anything at all. So the chance of tearing up stuff, hitting these metal clamps, I don't know, I just don't like them. So I 3D print and use these as a much more low profile. You can see you have to, it's not that you couldn't hit this screw and washer, but you're gonna have to get way off the workpiece to do it. Another thing I like to do is just use the painter's tape and CA glue to hold stuff down. I had these handy, so I decided to use those. The machine homes great, it jogs great. I'll be doing some more testing in another video, but this video is probably going to be really long, so I don't want to get too crazy with it. But really solid little machine. It does have, I'll try to throw some pictures up here. You know, this is where the main USB plugs in right here. Let me make sure I'm getting that on camera, and no, I am not. So let's go. There we go. So the main USB plugs into the controller right here. This serial port right here is for an MPG or manual pulse generator, or handheld pendant, whatever you want to call it. I may look into getting one of those. Down below here is a plug for the offline controller, which, you know, like I said, this machine hasn't even come out yet officially, so they just sent me the basic machine. But I'm just trying to point out some other things you can put on here. It also has a plug in the back here for an A axis, so if you get the rotary, which I'm assuming it would be the same rotary axis for this as it is with the 4040 Pro, and I've done a video on that. I'll put a link below if you want to check that out. Let's see what else. On the back here is another little box, and it has some plugs. It has a place to plug in the probe and some other things. I'll post a picture up here so you can see what else plugs in. The laser module, and the probe works great. I'm only using it for the just to 0 to Z so far, but I probably will come up with another X, Y, and Z probe for this. And you can see got the thickness dialed in, I think, pretty good on this. The thing about this, that I mentioned this before when I did a review on the 4040 Pro, is because this plugs in to this box back here, and this box is mounted to the back of the gantry, which moves around. You know, you have to be careful that you don't, because if you just set your Z and then set this over here somewhere, and then if you're moving all around, it could get tangled up. So I'm probably going to come and make another 3D printed little box to maybe mount right here or something. I don't know, maybe on the back somewhere. But it'd be good to have a place to put that, because the way that thing plugs in with one of those little tiny plugs, it's hard to get in and out. You don't want to be moving it in and out because it'll eventually stop working. So that's just kind of a pet peeve, but not a biggie. I'll 3D print something for the back of that. But really nice little machine. I did adjust it, and you might notice that you know, if it looks like things move faster than you're used to seeing and a little smoother than you're used to seeing, it's because I did tweak the settings before I ran into this. I changed, they send these things out, and I guess it's because of, you know, they figure a person brand new is going to be getting these machines. They have the Gerbil settings, you know, really slow on everything. So the acceleration settings, I've tweaked a little bit, probably can still go a little bit more with that. The maximum speed, I've tweaked a little bit, might still be able to go a little bit more on that. But you can see when I jog it, it moves nice and smooth, and it's not real slow. I've even, when let me move it back here to where it was. Even when you home it now, it homes much faster than it did. It was just a super crawl homing, and you know, you don't want it to go real fast, but you don't want it to take all day either. It does home to the front right. I'm thinking you probably could change that, because they do have limit switches front and back over here, so I may try to figure out how to get it to home towards the back. That would be pretty sweet. And other than that, like I said, fit and finish is just a beautiful machine. It's nice and solid. If you have any reservations about it being belt drive, just go ahead and forget about that. They work fine. It's all about getting them tensioned correctly. And I think when you see the way this thing is made, you got to see a little bit of it when you saw me put the tensioner on the side here for the X. They have the same thing on the two belts back here on the Y. So it really makes it easy to get the tension set right. And, you know, unless you're just going crazy with it, it shouldn't lose any steps. It's all about, you know, it's all about how you run the machine. So a lot of people try to steer you away from the belt-driven machines, but you know, if you know what you're doing, you're not going to have any problems with the belts. It's all in keeping the right tension, keeping things cleaned off, and you won't have any problem with them. But I guess I'm going to try to wrap up this video. I know this one's going to be super long because of all the assembly and unboxing and all that stuff. And oh, I should mention too, I mentioned on the back of this box back here, there is a plug for a laser And again, like I said, they just sent me the basic machine, but you can take this out. This is the smallest spindle. You can take this out, and there's like that spacer ring in there, so you could put either the bigger spindle, which I have one of those in there on my 3020 Pro Max, so I may bring that out here and try that out here. And you can also get a laser module option, and it will come, well, I don't know whether it'll come with it, but you just have a ring that's got the grooves in it where you can put the square laser module in there. So I'd like to have one of those too to play around with this thing. But really enjoy this machine so far. I hope you enjoyed this video and seeing that you know, for the first time, this is the 4040 RENO by Genmitsu, and it'll be coming out really soon. I noticed they've got the Amazon link for this thing. They've got it live now, but I think the delivery date is still out in March sometime. So, but they're getting ready to start shipping these, and you might want to take a look. And by the way, don't forget, I am an affiliate with Sainsmart, so I have a referral link down below which will save you 10% on anything you purchase off of the Sainsmart website. And you know, it not only saves you a bunch of money, but it also lets them know that I sent you over there to get it. So anyway, I think that's probably going to do it for now. I'll come back tomorrow and probably start shooting some more video running different things. I want to do some 3D carves on here and just get some programs other than the test programs that they supply, because that way I can put my settings in there and get the thing to really show you what this thing is capable of doing. So until the next one, thank you very much for watching.